Good afternoon. I would also like to thank the Croatian Chamber for the invitation, and I'm looking forward for the cooperation, for further cooperation of our chambers. I prepared a short presentation. I'm a practicing architect for 33 years, so I used to speak more about architecture. But today I would like to say something about architects in Slovakia and about their services. I will be less specific, perhaps more general ideas. I will touch these three topics I prepared. First, I called the framework. The second, I called the situation on the ground. And the third, is the social contract. There are different frameworks that architects are working in. We have a strict regulatory framework. We have an environmental framework. We have the financial framework, and what I prepared, my favorite framework, and I call it the complexity framework of the architect's profession. When Stephen Hawking was in the previous century asked what will be the science of the 21st century, he answered, I think the 21st century will be the century of complexity. It looks like that he was right. Complexity science, complexity theory works with so-called complex systems. These systems that are systems with many entities interrelated by nonlinear interactions, unpredictable emergent properties, and behavior. Really, the last 20, 30 years are the years of complex systems, climate, global economy, global finance, the emergence of social networks. Our cities are getting more complex and complex, and our architecture is getting weirdly complex. And of course, modeling of complex phenomena it looks like the biggest challenge of nowadays science, and as I think it's a new fundamental task for architects and urban planners in this 21st century now. And that's what I'm speaking about. During the last 30 years, the architect's profession has changed from the ground up. Architecture became significantly complex. Design and planning have stopped being an invariable, simplified model of reality. You can forget printed drawings, plans, sections. Our profession is completely about something other. And of course, to capture these arising phenomena, architects are trying or must use new modeling techniques, new scopes of works, and new approaches. For example, only for one example, BIM. BIM, from my point of view, is a desperate attempt to deal with the combinatorial explosion of complexity in architecture and construction. Because architects and planners recognize that the complex architecture cannot be captured by drawings, plans, sections, even if they are in AutoCAD or in digital form. So, as I said, our scope of services are no longer a finite set of established basic tasks, and that's a problem. Because if we want to calculate our fees, we want to have a basic scope of services, a list of basic tasks. You put it in the computer, you calculate a number. But architects have to deal with new tasks caused by exponential increase in relations, influences, feedback loops of their design, of the architecture. Also with rapid changes in technology, because buildings are now highly interconnected systems. There are no these separate systems of cooling, heating, building or electricity. They are really interconnected, and these connections are multiplying to explosion of influences. Of course, architects have to deal also with these disruptive changes in physical environment. I can only few of them: climate, sustainability, energy, problems with materials. The next, what we have to deal with is a gamification of life in general and the gamification of all processes we are using based on digital world and of AI in the future. Architects have to handle huge volumes of highly precise information they are not used to, have to deal with severe overexploitation of available resources. We have to change our profession to make reuse, renew, recycle, no new buildings. And of course, with all these new types of risks and integrity requirements arise. That's all what goes into this scope of services. This represents an important part of the global framework of the architectural profession. The second topic, the situation on the ground, what I meant is the situation of architects in Slovakia. Architects' profession in Slovakia is 1,850 authorized architects, plus 500 authorized civil engineers with the same scope of authorization as architects. And that means one licensed architect for 3,000, approximately for 3,000 inhabitants. I think that it's one of the lowest ratios in Europe, if not the lowest. Till now, most of architects' contracts are still signed solely for deliverables, no services. Contracts are for piles of printed drawings, permitting documentation, constructor documentation, and so on. All other services have to be included in these so-called works or project documentation. The design phase is ignored also in the building law and also in contracts signed with public clients. No design, only documentation. Most of the related services of architects have to be considered as extra works, so no services within the contracts. We have also a very abnormal situation according our fee scales. The chamber had Slovakia joined the European Union in 2004, and in 2005 there was a threat of an infringement, and the chamber had to abandon its fee scale. Unfortunately, it was not really used, so nobody realized that it was abandoned. But on the other hand, there's a fee scale called Unica. It's from the 90s. It's published in print by a single private person, and this Unica has become a benchmark for the whole industry in Slovakia, including public procurement. all procurement procedures use Unica as calculating the fee. This Unica is a general planner price, so it includes all the professions, the structural engineer, architect. It has a limited selection of parameters, and design tasks are not included, and only to make some assumption, for a typical housing project between 10 to 20 million, you get from Unica 2.5% to 4% of construction cost for the whole general planner services. And that's the situation on the ground in Slovakia. And therefore, Slovakia has the lowest share of its architectural services market on the construction market in the European Union. The estimate of the ACE sector study is 0.19%. I hope that they made some mistake. Okay, so what to do with it? That's the third topic, the so-called social contract, because I think that a substantial change of the roles and responsibilities of architects in the society and in the construction industry in Slovakia is a vital necessity. Slovak Chamber of Architects has started an explanatory campaign among architects, municipalities, and public clients, and also working and preparing new guidelines and documents. The first is called Standards of Services of Architects. The second is called Plan of Services of Architects, something like RIBA Plan of Work. And also a standard contract for services of architects. We studied some standards from Austria, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Switzerland as a benchmark. And unfortunately, we are still on the very beginning of the transformation because lots of bad practice and disruptive dynamics, as I talked about, in the industry, making it really hard to bounce off and to proceed with the changes. But we have some short-term objectives, and that's a new definition of scope of work based on services. We have to succeed with this change, to change the situation that architects deliver not only these deliverables, but architects are working on the base of services. Will be not easy. We would like to cover with our guidelines at least 2/3 of the architectural services market. There will be also always some extra types of services that you cannot cover with your manuals and with your fee scales and with your scope of services. Our other short-term objective is this new type of contract between architects and their clients, which will be based on services, not on delivering documentation. And of course, that's why I'm here, also implementing best practice examples from Europe. So I'm keen to hear about them. Our long-term objectives are, of course, trying to better understand these new challenges of these extremely intricate processes that now we have in design, planning, and construction, because it's not business as usual. It's not as when I started my career, and it's completely different what I'm doing now as I was doing before 30 years. And also this we plan to find something like a value app or something like magical calculation as a type of a dynamic adaptive model or algorithm for calculating appropriate values of fees. That's it. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to all interesting ideas shared on this conference. Thank you.